What's happening, guys? Welcome to Jester Radio. Welcome to a new episode. Actually, first sponsored episode ever, so that's pretty dope. Gasoline Denim Co. is a South African premium online brand that caters for individuals who are looking for denims with extra stretch and versatility. The skinny fit clings to the shape of the body, contouring it perfectly as possible for the waist to the ankle. I've got about 2 pairs of Gasoline Denim now, and actually, I'm going to be honest, I prefer them to my G-Star Raw jeans. I actually would rather wear my Gasoline Denim jeans to my G-Star Raw. And I mean, that's a big say. So guys, go check out Gasoline Denim on Instagram and Facebook and go purchase your first pair because they're pretty cheap. So go cop them while you can. So my guest today, probably best known as Rickus. Bro, welcome and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, man.
So introduce yourself. You're not actually Rickus. That would be an alias. It's a little stage name.
Known as. Yeah, it's Rickus Velman on 7 but my name is Andre Lotte. And I'm an actor and a weekend warrior, a sports and fitness enthusiast.
Yeah, so that's actually how... I actually grew up watching 7 but actually how I came about to know you and see you on Instagram was actually through your sponsorship with USN.
Yeah, that happened about 4 years ago. Actually, when I started with 7 I started with USN,
Okay.
So it's a nice journey so far. Yeah, I needed something to back me, with training that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Not that I'm training like you, but...
Yeah.
So.
I actually... Bro, you're not going to believe this. So I'm actually English, but my dad's Afrikaans, and I grew up watching 7 probably much since I could read. Because I was always reading the subtitles. So my mom actually still watches 7 to this day, so I can guarantee she's been watching 7 for over 30 years. I think it's actually been around for that long.
We on air now for 20 years.
Okay, 20 years, yeah. So that was an exaggeration, but I mean,
It feels that long.
Yeah, it has, and it's probably one of the longest lasting series in South Africa.
I think currently it's Generations, but 7 is the longest running. Not that I said the other soaps aren't popular, but it's an extremely popular soap. So it's 20 years. Our ratings have been just going up and up and up. And we are Afrikaans soap. So the ratings that we have for an Afrikaans, 70% Afrikaans and the rest English and Vernac, is quite huge. And I mean, we've been entertaining them for 20 years now. April it was 20 years.
That's incredible. And obviously not everyone's been on there the entire time. But I'm sure there's some people that have been on there.
Well, now I think the last year was Vanette and who else was there from the beginning? And Hilda, who played Hilda. So, but currently cast members that are airing now, everybody is kind of new, not from the beginning in terms of 2000 when they started.
How long have you been on?
I've clocked 4 years in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember, I always think when I started watching, it was probably when I was in my second year varsity. I'd go home on the weekend and maybe on a Sunday watch all of the episodes.
The omnibus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're a personal trainer to start off with. What is your first initial introduction to the show as your character?
So I got the brief, and it was a sports guy. He was a tennis player, tennis player.
Okay, so you worked at the shop and you sold the rackets and everything. What was the shop's name?
TNT.
TNT.
It was called back in the day Terron Interblanche.
Yes. Yeah.
And so obviously because that family left the show, they had to kind of invent the name, and they just kept TNT because they didn't want something extremely new.
Yes.
So they just kept it TNT. So Rickus was in America. He played professional tennis there. And then he got busted for performance enhancing drugs.
Did they ever say what drugs it was?
They never said it, because I actually told the writers, I can give you a couple of names that people use, specifically like tennis players, because you're not going to use something that's going to bulk you.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't want to go into that. But the storyline was of such a nature that he didn't pursue it. His coach gave it to him unknowingly. So he kind of had that. He was obviously terminated from his contract, but... he had to deal with coming back and being, not a failure, but feeling like a failure. So it was interesting getting the part, because I had to stay in shape the entire time, and that forced me to train. Not that I never.
Was it the role that got you the sponsorship with USN, or was it?
Well, actually, it was because of the role. But there's a guy working on 7 Lawn. He's part of the art department, and he worked for USN back in the day. And I just spoke to him over lunch one day, and I said, listen, obviously supplements are expensive, and if they want me in a certain shape, I can't afford to have a strict diet the way it needs to be, and then obviously supplements as well. And then he said, I worked for USN and contact this and this person. So I contacted them and said, listen, can we work on a deal? And I went in, and ever since we had a partnership. Yeah,
that's awesome. Acting in South Africa is obviously vastly different to overseas.
Extremely.
Have you ever gone overseas and done some acting there, or is it?
I've never acted overseas. No. Well, I've done plays like in Seychelles and stuff like that, but never in international production. It's a different world. The thing is, when I studied drama, I studied theatre. I just wanted to be a theatre actor. I was never interested in television or film necessarily, and the course that I studied was very much theatre-based, Shakespearean, Elizabethan kind of vibe. And so my mind, I was kind of a purist. I was like, I'm just going to do theatre. I'm not going to sell out. And that's the mentality as young actors in South Africa. So I was basically just wanting to do theatre, but obviously you can't make a proper living, just by doing South African theatre. And so I started going into film film and series. But so my career, I mean, it's 10 years now that I've been a professional actor, even more, 11 years. And I've never had the opportunity to go overseas, but I've always been busy in a production. So I've never really opened myself up for something overseas. But currently I'm looking at it. It's a hardcore and a difficult industry to break into, because there is a lot of actors overseas. Yeah. And there's a lot of South African actors that work overseas. And so you've got to kind of campaign for it in a certain way, obviously audition and be good enough, but you've got to set your mind to it, and that's what I'm currently busy with. I'm currently working on the body, working on the skill, working on different things to eventually go and do it. And I actually wanted to do it this year, but because of COVID and stuff like that, you've got to obviously think twice about just leaving your job.
Yeah.
So it will eventually hopefully come, but I've been just too busy in the South African industry, which I'm blessed for.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you, obviously, there's so many different things that go into acting compared to what people think when they watch the TV shows.
Exactly.
What's the biggest misconception you'd say is between watching a show and actually, acting itself?
I'm actually glad you asked this question, because, a lot of young actors, they come to me and like, no, I want to be an actor. I'm like, why? That's the first question I ask them. Why do you want to be an actor? And then they can't answer me. And I'm like, do you want to be famous? Because you can instantly be famous. We're in a social media era.
Yeah.
You can be famous instantly. I said, but if you want to be an actor, you can be a soap star as well. If you've got a pretty face, if you can deliver the lines, if you can have a bit of charm, you can be on a soap easily. I said, but if you want to be an actor, you've got to study it. So it takes a lot of work to get there. Not that I say you necessarily have to study drama to be a good actor, because there are good actors out there that haven't studied a day in their life. But what they do is they constantly enhance their skills, hone their skills. They go for coaching. They read up. They watch a lot of content in terms of movies, art movies, and bad movies, so as to educate them. But some of the guys and some of the girls come and they just want to be famous. So, but there's also a difference there is a difference. I mean, acting is acting. It needs to be true. It needs to come from a real place, and you need to analyze your text and your character. But I actually had a conversation today about the difference between being a theatre actor, being a film actor, film/say drama series actor, and being a soap actor. Soap actor, being in soap is extremely difficult. Reason being, it is extremely fast. They call it an Afrikaanse worsmachine. It's fast-paced. You shoot about between 18 to 24 scenes a day.
Sure.
That's an episode a day. And I mean, for an episode that you see on television that is, say, it's a 3-minute episode, we spend about 45 minutes shooting that scene. That's just putting it in the bag. Now, before that scene, you need to learn your lines, have subtext, you go through dialogue coaching. It is extreme hard work. And some people get away with just reading the lines and saying it, but you can see it. It's a subpar performance. So yeah, in specifically soap acting, for me it's extreme. Now I'm obviously accustomed to it, because you get to practice your short-term memory. That's what soap is about. It's about reading it now or last week and remembering it, recording it, and then you forget it.
Yeah.
Where theatre, your long-term memory kicks in, because you do a theatre play for 4 weeks and you rehearse for 3 weeks. And same with the film, you get longer time. So there's a lot of preparation. I prepare from the moment I get my text. I read it, just reading like a novel, not even learning lines, because that's a mistake a lot of actors make, is they instantly open up the text, see their character name, and they learn the lines. And that is not the way to do it, actually. They get away with it, with charm and stuff. So yeah, I read it again, and then I take about an hour and a half on a Saturday or Sunday, whenever I've got time, and then I actually analyze. And there's a whole lot of ways of analyzing it, and techniques you can use. And I mean, when I studied drama, I studied Stanislavski method, which is he's the father of modern acting. His method, and then obviously the method, which is Lee Strasberg. So there's a lot of things you put into it, and it's fun. It's fun creating it and analyzing text and analyzing a personality from a piece of paper, and then putting yourself into that part. So it's a lot of work, and it's fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
You spoke about method acting. Have you ever gone into method acting yourself? Obviously, in terms of staying fit for your character's a fit guy. You stay fit in real life. Have you ever gone to the extremes of method acting?
I have. So what I do is there's a lot of different methodologies in terms of acting. So I studied Stanislavski and Sanford Meisner, which is two very prominent modern day acting techniques or schools of thought. And so I use that to apply myself initially in terms of analyzing the text, getting all the theoretical things out of it, and then practicing it with myself in my room or wherever I rehearse, just to get different flavors and different levels. And there's a whole lot of things that goes into that. But often I can't use method necessarily every day, because it'll chow you. It'll chow you emotionally and mentally up. So what I do is I select specific storylines. Like I did in Siemlan, a storyline, I was hit by a car and I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair for a while. So, and I draw from myself because my father was in a wheelchair. So then you go method. So as soon as everything is plotted out, they call it plotting. So it's you walk there, you sit there, what, and the rehearsal is done. And then I don't go, full tilt. I just go through the numbers, paint by numbers. And then when it's action, I take a couple of minutes, a minute or a half or 2 minutes, whatever, and get yourself into it. So I apply the method only at certain times. I've done it with an intense play that I did about, say, 6 or 7 years ago. And it kind of screws you up, because you can't, when you go method, they say you become the character. You can never become someone else. You're always simulating and stuff, but you can draw from your own experience. And that's what the method is. It's they tell you, okay, cool, Jesse, you have to draw from your own experience. And sometimes actors haven't dealt with what they've gone through.
Yeah.
Now you need to, with a director and an actor and in front of an entire crew, need to go and revisit those emotions. And sometimes it's scarring. And that's why for some people, they say it's true, Marilyn Monroe was so screwed up, because Lee Strasberg used her own emotions and what happened to her to portray a character, and it was a brilliant performance. And people like James Dean and Marlon Brando, they used the method, but they were very tortured and tormented individuals.
Yeah.
So there is a place for it. I often use it, but I use it very carefully. And I always tell young actors, go for the method when you do it the take, but don't especially when I've got a wife, I've got a life, yeah. I've got to obviously operate in public. So if I played a sociopath in Villarosa back in the day. If I have to become a sociopath, I won't be able to walk in normal life.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have a wife or a girlfriend or friends, because then you become someone you're not. So it's a very fine line between then switching on and switching off. I use it specifically the moment the camera rolls. Then I start using the method. But as a permanent, I will definitely use it when it's a very intense movie. Then I'll cut myself off, and my wife knows it. And I've done it in the past where it's a storyline, and I told her now, because the storyline is coming up, that I tell her, listen, yeah, I'm going full tilt on this. So obviously I'll be present, but it's about 2 or 3 weeks where if I can paint a picture, it's like I'll always keep 1 foot in. Normal day, I will obviously rehearse, do the scene as best I can, but I'll always jump out as Unran and screw around and make jokes and stuff like that. But when I shoot an intense storyline, even the cast and crew, they know that I'm vibrating and idling in that character, or that environment, that emotion, 50% all the time. So I keep to myself. So, and that's fun, but it's also it makes it difficult for friends and family because they never know how. You are, and I think
are you the character? Who are you? So,
exactly. And when I played Liam Leroux, which was in Villarosa back in the day, I went through a storyline, and it was quite a lengthy one. It was about 2 months. And I worked like literally 5 days a week, 7 to 7. So it was quite, hectic. And I went out with friends on a Saturday, and I wanted to have a party. I had 2 drinks, and all of a sudden someone came to our table, and they were joking around. But for me, it wasn't a joke. I don't know why. But I was in such a mental state that I didn't even realize it. I gave him a look, and I said something, and afterwards my friends, and they know me quite well since primary school, and they said, "Dude, what was that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" They said, "Your eyes were completely different. You had different energy. They felt it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "We've never, ever seen you act like that. It was like someone else." And then I realized, oh my word, that guy comes through.
Yes.
And stuff like that. When that happens, I kind of realize, okay, cool, you've got to have a midway, specifically when you're on soap. Soap is a difficult medium to be the character. That's why you'll see a lot of it happens. It's just the natural progression of what we do. Sometimes an actor gets cast as a character in a soap, and it's a permanent part, and then somewhere along the line, the character and the actor is actually one. So not that they're not acting anymore, but the character kind of becomes you, and you become the character. And like with Rico's, there's a lot of similarities that we have, but I always try and keep a distance between us so that I still have to work as an actor, but because a lot of people just come on and they say the lines because their character is their personality, basically.
So then you don't want to limit yourself to being cast as that type of character further on.
Exactly, yeah. And also the thing is, I think when you're in a soap for so long and you just play yourself, there's no creativity in that. Then it's only literally learning your lines and saying it with a bit of energy and stuff like that. So I like to literally switch it up. Obviously, there's a lot of myself in it, but you try and make it someone else. And luckily, a lot of time when I meet people that watch the show, they often say, "Listen, you're completely different than your character." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's what acting is about."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
it's acting. That shows that I'm a good actor. And obviously, there's been people that have taken to extremes. I'm gonna obviously talk about the American celebrities. I mean, like Christian Bale. If you look at him for how he puts on weight and loses weight for his roles, would you obviously, as an actor, you'd be willing to go to those extremes if you had to?
Definitely. With we did a storyline on Seven Lawn. I don't know if you remember it. The Fun Flight to Disaster. So it was a plane crash. Yes. And I read the brief. So we get a brief, or they call it grids. So the grids is like, say, 2 months or maybe 3 months ahead of just a story, no text, no dialogue, just what's going to happen. And I like to be obviously informed about that. So I read it a lot. And then I read that we're going to go on this journey. And so what I did is for myself, because we're going to be in the bush for a week or a bit more than a week, the characters, and obviously that they can't eat, there's nothing to eat. So I then myself lost weight. I lost a lot of weight to look like it. And the director noticed it. He was like, "Wow, you lost weight?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I want to be like it." Because when I come back, I knew the storyline that was going to be, I was going to be in a fight club. So then I'm going to pick up weight and become more muscular. So I went through, it's not as big a transformation as like Christian Bale or even Matthew McConaughey, but I went through that. And then as soon as the storyline flipped a bit, I trained extremely hard to become an underground fighter. And I've obviously trained with my coach boxing and a bit of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And I boxed myself for a long time, so I'm physical able to portray it, but I wanted to be on par. And also the training I went through, intense training for that. So for 7 On, there's not enough scope necessarily, and finance and funding and stuff like that. So you kind of do it on yourself, or, on your own pocket. But if I get an opportunity, like the Americans have the time, the resources, and I mean, for me, I'm in 7 On as a permanent. So if I now get cast in a movie where I need to play a bodybuilder, I can't necessarily become the bodybuilder. Yeah. It needs to be. I can maybe pick up 5 or 6 or 7 Ks or whatever the case may be, but I still need to get on set and play Rikus, and so because I'm fully contracted. Yeah. So that makes it difficult in South Africa. And even if I get cast, I can't cut my hair, I can't change my appearance because I'm on first call basis. So it's a bit difficult for us in South Africa. But I know for a fact that if I get an opportunity to play in such a movie and I'm not contracted anywhere else, I would go full tilt. I would go extreme. I would build muscle or lose muscle or shave my head or whatever the case may be. And I did it on 7 On. They asked me, will you go bold? I did a cancer storyline, and I said, obviously, man, it's what we do. It's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I did prosthetics on 7 Line, so you try and do it as much as time and money allows you. But I would definitely go. I'm actually in talks with someone with a script, and if it goes through, then I'm gonna lean down like a mofo. Yeah.
Okay. So you get super lean.
Yeah, I'm gonna get.
And that would be for 7 Line.
No, that will be for a film. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If everything comes through.
Yes. Have you done films before? What?
I have done films. Not a lot because I've been contracted with soaps for so long. But I've done a couple of Afrikaans films. Ashe Sing, which was in 2012, I think. But there was an Afrikaans musical movie with some of the Afrikaans artists. I think it was Bobby van Jaarsveld, Bob van Blerk. And for that, I played also like a, what do they call it? It was called in the show militaire ops. It's like a drill sergeant, like young drill sergeant. And for that, I ripped to the bone. And then I did a movie where I played the lead, me and Marissa Drummond, in 2016, I think it was. It was called Eindelijk Nogal Baie, and that did quite well. And that was quite an emotional film. But yeah, for the rest, there's not been. Look, the thing is, I've also spoken to a lot about that, or about it to my agent, and I've never just taken a movie just for the bucks or just to be famous. That was never ever my goal. I never wanted to be famous. That wasn't the objective of why I acted. It just naturally happened that I got in a soap, and the soap is obviously in people's living rooms every single day. So you become known. Yeah. So it was never that for me.